Deegan.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely going to Fox. That's a certainty, and I'm not I have no bearing on the situation, but I mean, I know that to be true, so I'm not going to deny it, here. Um, and they really, I think this fits what they need, right? Like they've always had superstars, and Ken Roxon is, he's going to be around for a while, but not forever. And it's hard to imagine that Kenny's in his prime, right? They lost Adam Cincerillo. They don't have that guy right now that is the Supercross champion contender. And they always have. They always had that guy from Stewart to Carmichael to Dungy to Roxon to whoever. Take your pick. They've always had a guy like that. And right now they don't. So I think this is a good fit for them. This makes a lot of sense, in my opinion. They have big budgets. They're not scared to spend money. And that's what Hayden Deegan's going to command anyway. So that all kind of makes sense in my mind. As far as his prep goes, I think for right now, Argentina is the first one I think on the calendar for him as far as we know, and he can ride, right? Like I doubt he has ridden. He tried to ride before Ironman. It was really more the sprint laps that were troublesome, and also it was going to be the body of work put that he had to put in that they were really worried about that catching up with him, especially on day three. If basically what I heard was the question was posed, hey, right now, if you had to race today, could you beat Justin Cooper on a 250? And he's like, no, like there's no way right now, like Jacob's fast anyway. It would take my best to go beat him, which I think he could. His best versus best, Hayden's better. But right, he's nowhere near 100% was really all it came down to. So in that moment, right then, they made the call like, hey, this isn't going to work. Um, So now I'm sure he probably hasn't ridden since then. Like I don't know what the date of Argentina is, but at some point he'll start getting back on the motorcycle. And a plated collarbone, you don't even only need a few weeks anyway. So that timeline is going to work out where he's going to be able to start riding and getting acclimated. And that doesn't mean you have to go like full boot camp mode because that, like October is really the downtime. You do some testing. There is testing involved, but it's kind of easy work. You don't do a lot of like heavy laps or heavy workload on your body. You just want to try to give your body a rest. But you do need to try some things because the OEMs and the teams use this October window to get a base setting and say, okay, these are the parts that work. These are the ones that don't. And the ones that do, we need to go order them from whether it's the factory or aftermarket partners or whoever's manufacturing these things. We need to give them this 60 to 90-day window to produce all of these parts to be ready for the season. So this October window is critical for that. It's just not a time where you'd want to just be hammering out laps endlessly. That's going to come like mid-November.
Yeah, absolutely great insight there. And you obviously hear like Hunter Lawrence talking on Pulp the other day, and all the GP teams, they're obviously rushing back straight to do testing and getting that sorted now for the reason you said, mate. So there's certainly no rest for these blokes just yet, is there?
No, it's not yet. And again, there's a big difference between the just brutally long days of boot camp prep and testing days. Like testing days, especially these testing days, everyone's lighthearted, it's relaxed, like there's a lot of laughing going on. Yes, you have to do the work, but you're more just trying to figure out what works and what doesn't, and you're narrowing down things. And Trey Kennard's probably been testing a lot, right? Giving them like, hey, I've narrowed it down to these few options. Maybe it's 10 options. Everything else doesn't work. Forget those. These 10, we need to narrow it down to like whatever, five, right? And I'm making up numbers, but it's a narrowing process that Trey would help them with. And then the final riders would make their personal preferences based off of the window that Trey knows kind of where they need to be anyway. But it's just not a grueling brutal process like boot camp is. Like boot camp is no fun. Like if you hear people talking about they really enjoy boot camp, well, they're sadistic then. Like they have something wrong with their brain because it's not very much fun. There's not a lot of laughing going on. It's long, hard days and everything hurts on your body. It's just endless laps. This is not that. So I just want to make the clear differentiation. Like this is not such a big deal. Not like yes, you have to go to the track, which they probably don't want to be riding right now. But hey, life's hard sometimes. That's why you get paid millions of dollars. But it's a much more enjoyable thing than what's going to come in a month or two.
Yeah, mate, it's definitely on the horizon, those brutal days. But yeah, it sounds like they'll just be, putting the ducks in a row for this one. And on the topic of deals and Fox, I guess, what's the latest on Prado, mate? Obviously, that KTM deal, I'd imagine from what we're hearing, is getting closer to getting sorted. What flow-on effect does that have with Monster, Kawasaki, his Fox deal? There's a lot going on behind the scenes. Do we see a resolution soon, mate? Announced publicly anyway. And I guess he'll just be looking to put that behind him, that Kawasaki spell, and just restore that belief and confidence in himself and get back to his best as soon as possible, mate, because that wasn't the Prado we know this season, was it?
Yeah, that was what a year for Jorge Prado. I did hear, and I'll give Steve Mathis credit because I saw his tweet about it, that he finally got released from Kawasaki and Monster. So whether or not he had to pay anything, what the terms of that release were, I have no idea. And this isn't even official. Steve talks to people that would know. Like he knows a lot of people involved in that program on many different fronts. So he's probably correct in that if he's willing to tweet it. Now the question is, when does news drop? So he said something about October 16th, which would be a week from today. We'll see if that comes to fruition about him joining Red Bull KTM. I just can't see a world now where that's not the outcome, right? If he got released, the Monster thing was the main holdup for him going to Red Bull KTM. If that has been rectified and come some sort of resolution, then everything else is going to fall into place, and you're going to see him on a Red Bull KTM sooner rather than later. The Coenens are going to be racing. I think they'll race the first 4 or 5, not so different than what we saw from Prado in 2024. That's something that I fully expect. They're currently at Master Pools in Texas doing Supercross laps, and yeah, I don't know their schedule. I don't want it to seem like I know everything that they're doing. That's just simply what I expect them to do is race some Supercrosses early on. I do think they'll race a couple pro motocrosses in the summer when schedules permit, because make no mistake, in 2028 they're coming here, right? So this is what I can assess is a gradual process to have them acclimated. So when they come in 2028, they're very used to it, and it's not a big transition at all, right? Track schedule, just the inner workings of the series, like all the things that would take time to learn, they should have all that sorted out, and especially in a low pressure environment like they're going to have this year and next year. So it's going to be awesome. They're going to bring a lot to it. Both of them are incredibly exciting to watch. They're really talented, and they get great starts, which means they're going to be in the fight all the time. So yeah, I mean, not that we don't have 10 million things to be excited about for January. Just add those two kids to the recipe of that.
Joe Shimoda.
Well, I mean, he's the biggest free agent that hasn't signed, right? Like, and we assume that he's going to be at Honda. I cannot imagine a world where they don't keep him, right? Like that needs to be said first. But like, what are we waiting on? Like if it's that obvious and they still like were like I would have thought they would have had it done October 1st because if you're staying on the same team, there's really no reason to kind of wait for Motocross of Nations. Like you could just drop it. We're now past the Motocross of Nations. It's Monday after Motocross of Nations, and we still have nothing. So I guess Chase Sexton's news is there also. I don't know. It's like Bizarro world. I have no possible explanation for why Sexton's news hasn't dropped and for why Joe Shimoda hasn't signed a contract. Eli Tomac's PR isn't out either. I don't know. Maybe for Tomac they didn't get all the photo shoot stuff done in time to get it out because he was doing Motocross of Nations prep. I don't know. It seems all very strange with the timing here. So I don't think there's like where there's smoke, there's fire type stuff, but it is really peculiar that I've heard nothing about who is going to fill the second seat at Kawasaki. Nothing, like not one word as far as clarity. And okay, I've heard rumors that March Banks is going to race the 450 in motocross. I've heard that, but they, I can't imagine a world where they just go racing with one 450 in Supercross. Like I don't even think that their contract allows that. Like I don't think Monster Energy allows that per their contract. So yeah, it feels like we have everything ironed out, but there's some really big holes that need to be filled, is at least on a public scale anyway.